Hello there, crafty friends. It's Alicia of the Call Me Crafty Al YouTube channel, and I am back today with my first alternative for the July 2019 paper pumpkin kit. I hope you'll stick around and see what I'm going to make. As you know, I have so much fun making alternatives with my paper pumpkin kit, and I just got mine in the mail today, and I wanted to get right on these alternatives for you. Like last month, the first set of alternatives that I'm going to create are going to be kind of like what they show on the provided instructions, but I will be using clear cardstock for my card bases. Before I get started, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the clear cardstock. The kind I do get this separated with tissue, so there's a piece of tissue between each one, and I get the 10 mil. There are lots of different thicknesses. If you are interested in checking this out, I will link the clear cardstock in my description box below. But the rest of the stuff that I'll be using today should be mainly from my paper pumpkin kit. As I go along and do the voiceover of the process, I will kind of share with you what products I'm using and if I pull any other things in. But if I don't answer a question you have, as always, leave that in the comment section and I'll get back to you just as soon as I can. Let's make some alternatives. Before I get started on the individual cards, I am going to cut my clear cardstock pieces in half to 5.5 inches wide, and then I just fold those by hand, and I actually use the guide at the bottom of my trimmer to kind of give that a straight edge. I do end up with one extra card base, and I'll just save that for another project. I will be recreating the card on the left, and my supplies for this card are just like what the instruction sheet tells you, with the addition of that clear card base. When I make clear cards, I usually try to make an inner card that will allow me to hide my personal message since the front of the card is clear. So all I did is trim down the cards I was already given from Stampin' Up, and I made them 4.5 inches tall by 3.25 inches wide after they were folded. And then I just put adhesive on the back of that card and centered it on the inside of my clear card base. I did forget to get out my clouds earlier, and I'll need those to start getting this card put together. One thing I love about clear cards is with all the different layers and the inside of it being seen, you can get a lot of different dimension. So the clouds and the green circle are going to go on the front of the inner card, and then the boat and the rest of it will go on the outside front of that clear card. And you'll notice I let the circle of green hang over the striped card on the right, and later I will let some of the elements hang over just a little bit to the left of that striped card. Can I just tell you how much I love this ring of foam? I know that this later on for another alternative will help me make an excellent shaker card. Did you know there was a ruler on the inside of your instructions, so when it tells you to cut the ribbon or the twine to a certain length, you have a ruler? I didn't know that until just about 2 months ago. Before I finish off the card, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment. So I pulled out my Stamper's Secret Weapon, that black pad in the background. And since the clear stamps don't have foam padding on the back, this helps you get a nice crisp image. Speaking of crisp image, I did think the first few stamps of this looked a little splotchy. So what I did is I pulled out my Versamark and I put down a layer of that before I inked it up with the, I think it's Pretty Peacock ink. And that helped a little bit, you'll see here. This is kind of common with newer stamps, and I think once you put down that one layer of Versamark, you can then just ink it up as usual. Now that my sentiment was ready to go, it was time to finish this card. I adhered the sentiment to the front of the card with the foam squares, and then I added my bow and some of the sequins from the kit. And here's a look at card number 1 all finished. And now it is time to recreate the middle card on a clear card base. Again, I just used the items that the instructions told me, and I just love that little paper clip. Just like the first card, I am cutting my inner card to 4.5 inches tall by 3.25 inches wide. I'll be cutting the pattern paper just slightly smaller at 4 inches tall by 2.75 inches wide, and that just gives me a nice border around the pattern paper. Both the inner card and the piece of pattern paper will go on the inside of the clear card, and then I will put the rest of the elements all on the outside. Once again and off camera, I inked up the sentiment stamp with Versamark first, just to help with the more crisp stamped image. I tied the twine right on the paper clip, and before I attempted to make my bow, I actually tied a knot first, and then I just kind of arranged each of the loops like I wanted it and added it to my sentiment tag. For some more dimension and depth, I did add that to the front of the card with some of the Stampin' Up! Dimensionals that were included with the kit, and then I finished it off by adding the little blue tag and some of the sequins. And here is a look at the second card for today. The third and final card for today's video will be a recreation of the card on the right with a clear card base. For this card, I am not cutting the inner card as small. I am leaving this at 5 inches tall by 3.75 inches wide when folded. Because the pattern piece is aligned more to the right of the card front, I'm going to be cutting about 1/2 inch off the bottom and then 1/4 inch off the width of this piece. The folded card will go on the inside of my clear card base, and the pattern piece will go on the front or the outside. And just like before, I did pre-ink my sentiment with the Versamark ink before inking it up and stamping it onto my sentiment tag. Once I figured out where I wanted my 2 tags to kind of stick together, I went ahead and put those together, and then I put some adhesive on the back top of those 2 tags to adhere my twine to before I knotted it on the front and tied it in a bow. This just kept me from having to fight with the twine if it just kept slipping without that adhesive on the back. I used the provided glue dots to adhere 2 of the larger green leaves and then that finer, more kind of detailed branch. Now with the detailed branch, I did just put the glue dots straight onto the card front, and then I put the end of the branch in it. I also put another glue dot behind one of the lighter green leaves to kind of help keep the delicate branch in place. I did make sure that my label tags would cover up the glue dot that I had put down for my smaller branch, and then I added some dimensionals to the back of that and put it on the card front. To finish it off, I added 3 sequins, and here's a look at the finished card. I hope you enjoyed the process of seeing me make these 3 alternative cards. If you did, as always, I appreciate a thumbs up. If this is your first time visiting my channel and you would like to know when I upload more videos, including more July 2019 alternatives, I hope you'll click on the subscribe button below and maybe tap on that little bell. And as always, thank you so much and welcome back to my regular viewers and subscribers. Until my next video, I hope you're all having a crafty day. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch all the way to the end of the video. I hope that you'll consider clicking on one of the videos or playlists I have linked above, and if you're interested in any of the products or tools that I use in the video, I do have some links in the description box.